Hello there. What's going on, everyone? Today we're going to talk about the new vehicles coming to Star Wars Legion, the Laat LE and the AA5 speeder truck. We got a lot of news from these at Mini Stravaganza over this past weekend, and these are getting closer to becoming a reality. I believe these are currently scheduled to be out in May. Hopefully that will actually happen. Things sometimes tend to get pushed around a little bit. So we're going to talk about some of the new details that we learned from these two new super awesome heavy supports. They are big boy vehicles, and we're going to be looking at these things. Also, there's going to be some articles coming out probably this week on these things. They did say that articles were going to be coming out with giving even more information. So let's talk about what we know now and what we hope to see in the future. Also, if you guys are new here, check the links in the description below. We got a great Discord server. Crabbok.com has that free Legion AI expansion, all kinds of cool stuff for you to check out. So be sure and do that. All right, so first off, let's talk about the AA5 speeder truck. We got a look at its actual unit card. And this thing is big. It's on that Gav base. It is, honestly, it looks a lot better painted than it did in a lot of the concept art when we were first started talking about it. So I really like the work that AMG has put into painting this thing up and making it look great. So I really like the look of it. It's got 8 health and armor, so it's going to be hard to kill. It's got a white defense die, but it does have defensive surge, which is very cool. So look, 75 points, that's a big old tough transport that you're going to have a hard time killing. It does have weak point 2 in the rear, but since it's got that long base, it's going to be hard to get behind it. It has a resilience value of 6, movement speed of 1, but that's not particularly slow considering how long that base is. If you've ever played with a Gav tank before, you'll know that even with speed 1, you're moving I think farther than a normal sized Mini would move at speed 3. It's just incredibly fast. So that is very cool. It's got armor, it's got hover ground, it's got reposition, which of course you really need for stuff like this. Transport 1 closed. So Transport closed is a reality right now. Now, Transport closed doesn't have a whole lot of bells and whistles. It does kind of protect those units inside a little better, but you know, like you're not having to worry about take damage every time the thing gets shot, but also they can't shoot out of it. So it's kind of got its good and bad things. And it has weak point 2 rear. It can take a pilot, 2 crew, a hard point, and comms. You'll also notice that there's no weapons down there, no weapons at all. So it's while it is only 75 points, which is not half bad, you're not getting to shoot with it. So that means if you take it just the way it is, you are going to have to spend an activation trying to figure out what else you're going to do. Are you going to dodge with this thing? You know, standby isn't really all that important either. What you can do is give it a weapon. Now, you can move twice. That's probably a very likely thing. Problem is, if you move twice, the unit that's being transported by you can't, get off and do other stuff. The only thing it can really do is get off. So that's kind of a bummer, especially if you have somebody that, since there's so many new things that we can do with this unit now. So I think you probably want to give it a weapon. We also got to look at some other things for it. So we got the heavy laser retrofit, which is the single gun. That's only a 16-point upgrade. It's just one of each die, critical 1. It'll probably get some damage in there. It's also range 4, so that's a pretty versatile weapon. That just doesn't seem terrible. It doesn't seem bad at all. So I kind of like that. I think you probably want at least something on there. If you're running it cheap, you probably want at least one gun on there. Maybe you can put some suppression on somebody. Maybe you can trigger fire support. Who knows? I don't think you want to be using a unit that doesn't have offensive surge to trigger fire support. But since you've got critical 1, and I think the Rebel, a Mark II has critical 2. I think it might work. And then you got the Wookiee warriors and the fleet troopers that you might want to consider transporting. I think so. What do you want to transport? I think you want to transport entire units, which. The rebels have never been able to transport a full, a whole unit before. They could always just put one mini. So now you can take a whole squad for the first time. Now it is only transport 1. That was kind of a little bit of a thing that people were a little upset about. So, maybe not upset about. I was wondering because it looked kind of big. I was thinking, well, couldn't you fit 2 units on here? Or would there be a way that you could do like transport 1 for a whole unit of multiple minis, or transport 2 if they're both like operative and or commander rank. So because you put like Han and Chewie on board the on board the AA5, like that would have been kind of cool also. But you can't. You got to stick to 1 unit. Even though Han and Chewie realistically could fit on there no problem, they're currently, sometimes the rules have to be more important than the fluff, and in this case it would have been too complicated, I think, to come up with something crazy. Maybe we'll see Han and Chewie together in a single unit at some point. Maybe they'll come up with some kind of detachment or entourage, special cards for them. That would be kind of cool. I'd love to see that someday. But for now, I think the 2 best candidates are Wookiee Warriors and Fleet Troopers. Now, Wookiees are getting a big update. We're getting a lot of stuff related to Wookiees. I'm going to talk about that in another video, because there was also a whole Kashyyyk wave that we got at least part of the Kashyyyk wave talked about. So I think there's plenty more Kashyyyk wave details that would be better served in a different video. But so Wookiees obviously are going to be good for there. But this might be the time that we can really start using Fleet Troopers again. Unfortunately, this thing doesn't really synergize super well with Fleet Troopers. It's great to just drop them in and have them shoot. That much is good, but what you're not going to be able to do is you're not going to be able to have them go in and then like stand by and get their free aim token. You're not going to be able to do all that other stuff that you might have wanted to do otherwise. Because, I mean, you have them drop in, somebody is just going to shoot them first, and then they're going to lose their standby, and it's just not all that great. So I would, if I'm going to drop them in, I'd rather have them, using that shotgun and getting lots of dice and doing that sort of stuff. Those are the 2 units I think that would synergize really well right now with this thing. There's also Shriv. Shriv is we're getting Shriv as a field commander finally. So we got Rebels are getting a field commander, which is very cool. And Shriv is awesome. First off, he's 10 points. It's not particularly cheap, but he also can go in any heavy. He's rebel only, but he's a heavy vehicle. So you can drop him in a snow speeder. You can drop him in a land speeder. Actually, I think he'd be really good in a land speeder, as a matter of fact. He might not be somebody that I want on the AA5. He may be somebody that I prefer in a land speeder. I think he will synergize pretty well with a couple of different units, but let's talk about that. Because he's got a really cool ability. It's a free action. You get to choose a friendly trooper unit that you are transporting, or at range 1 to 2, it gains a dodge token and may gain a suppression token. So I like the whole may gain a suppression token. Having choices is always good. Suppression is sometimes good because it gives you that light cover. It's naturally going to synergize with Pathfinders and Jyn Erso and maybe even Cassian, and any of the units that have danger sense are going to get benefits from having the option to get some extra suppression, which is really, really nice for those units. It really helps their survivability. Anybody who's gone up against Pathfinders that just won't die when maybe you didn't throw a strong enough attack at them, they dodge it and just start racking up the suppression and then holding on to it each turn, because they can keep that suppression from turn to turn too, which is just kind of it makes it exceedingly. If you don't get them the first time, you're gonna have a harder time. It's only gonna get harder from there on out, especially if they have duck and cover. But I think Luke Skywalker is a really good option for Shriv, or any future Jedi that they decide to eventually bring into here, because being able to give out free dodge tokens is huge. I mean, this could work with either version of Luke. It could work with Commander Luke or with Operative Luke. But if Shriv is Field Commander, that's also another way for you to get Operative Luke without having to also have to worry about taking another commander, because granted, there's going to be a tax because you got to take a heavy support, and those aren't particularly cheap. So, but at least you're getting a heavy for that tax as opposed to that rebel officer. So I think Shriv being able to give Luke a free dodge token as a free action, very, very cool. So I think there's definitely some synergy here with what we've seen from Shriv so far. And I mean, of course, that the dodge token will work on regular rebel troopers too. Or if you got Han and Chewie and they're doing teamwork, you give one of them a dodge, then the other one can get a dodge too. There's other things too, but I think these three are probably among the best synergies for Shriv at the moment. But I'm really, really hoping we get more Jedi, because I'd love to see Kanan and Ezra and be able to get dodge tokens from Shriv and stuff like that. Come on, man. I need them. I need more Rebel Jedi. There's so many. Every show has about Rebels that are become Jedis. Let's get some more of them. Hecky. All right. I mean, I guess we have Sabine, right? What about Rebel Ahsoka? Oh, I'm ready for more Rebel Jedis. But before I get off topic, let's move and talk about the Laat LE. The Lat LE is beautiful. It also has 8 health and 6 resilience. Has defensive surge and a white defense die, very similar at first glance to the AA5. Until you look a little closer, one thing you're going to notice is that point cost is way higher. At 120 points, it can take a pilot, it can take ordnance, and it can take comms. Now, this is a dual faction ship available for both the Republic and the Empire. The unit cards are the same, minus the art and the faction symbol. It's got the twin laser cannons. It does have a gun equipped to it, which is not a bad weapon, too. 4 dice. No offensive surge, however. And it's range 1 to 3. It is fixed front. So you're on this big old base. Now, this is a new size of a base. It's not exactly the same size that we've seen on the tanks that are out for the Republic and the Separatists. This is not that 150 millimeter base. This is a new base. Luke Eddy confirmed this in the Legion Discord just yesterday. This is a 120 millimeter base. This is a new size they made so it could have the notches, so it could strafe, but not also be quite so difficult to move around like the really big ones are. So that's pretty interesting. So this one's going to be an all new base size, 120 millimeter, and it's also got a lot of keywords here. So let's look at some of the keywords. It's got armor, arsenal 2, which it only has 1 gun, so you're going to want to put some kind of ordnance on there. It gets cover 1, so maybe even more defensible than the AA5 speeder tank. It's got hover air 2, so this thing is just going to go everywhere. It's also got a immune to blast, melee, and range 1 weapons, and it's a transport 1 closed. Again, so the Empire gets transport closed. I feel awkward about this one because I look at it and I'm like, well, the Empire already has a regular transport. Like, they can already transport a whole unit. So, like, if I could take this and drop some snow troopers in somewhere, or some Royal Guard, or anybody who's like slow. Well, Royal Guard aren't that slow really, but or drop Darth Vader in, or something like that. Any of that stuff I could already do on the Gav tank. And the cooler thing about the Gav tank is I put Palpatine on the Gav tank, and then he can shoot because it's a transport open. And so for like a lot of my coolest Imperial units that could already go on there, I kind of like the transport open a little bit better, because then you get that Palpatine lightning shooting out of the Tesla tank, out of that measuring from that huge base, and or Vader throwing a saber out of the tank. It's just like it's really cool. And this one, I kind of lose some of that benefit. I don't really know what we really gain from having this being a closed transport. So it's like it's not as cool as the Gav tank. So I'm like, maybe this isn't a vehicle that I want to really use as a transport. Maybe this is, or maybe it's just situational. Maybe there's going to be scenarios where, now I want to pick somebody up. Like maybe I want to pick somebody up mid-game as opposed to just using it to drop somebody off. And so I think that might be some use for it. It is what it is, I guess. But I think this is going to be more useful especially with fixed front weapons, to be kind of strafing around the battlefield, kind of firing with this, kind of like an AT-ST, but way more mobile. That's kind of what I'm thinking, although I still really, really like the AT-ST, but this looks pretty. I don't like this one as much overall, because it doesn't seem like it's adding a whole lot new to the Empire, but we do have some new cards to show you too. So, we've, in addition to the cards that they're going to show, I want to point out that this has got Ordinance, and that also means that the Empire version of it, again, it's a dual faction, also now has Ordnance. And if we look at the 3 Ordnance that already exist in game, now these weren't previewed. These came with the AAT and then the repulsor tank for the Rebels, or rather the Republic. So these aren't faction locked or vehicle locked. So there's already 3 Ordnance options available to the Empire's version of this. I mean, and also to the Republic, but they already kind of had access to these anyway through their tank. But yeah, so there's already some options where you can already be rolling 7 dice at range 3 with this thing, or maybe we'll see. Maybe we'll start to see some new Ordnance. I mean, if it comes with Ordnance, I think this stands to reason they'll give us some new Ordnance options here. Maybe something that doesn't have cycle, so you can take advantage of that Arsenal 2 every turn without having to recover. I'm not sure. I guess we will see. But yeah, so we've already got some options for building with it, and that much is pretty cool. We got 2 field commanders. We've got Clone Commander Fox and then Governor Price over there. Governor Price is the more interesting one, I think, mostly because I don't think anybody likes Fox because he killed 5s. So I'm sorry, Fox, I'm not a really big fan of you. But let's talk about Governor Price first. Governor Price is giving also Imperial heavy only, so she can go in anything. She does not have to go in this. She just gives her field commander. So there you go. You don't have to run a commander now. You also have the free action, much like Shriv, but in her case, she's giving out an aim to somebody either that she's transporting or at range 1 to 2. It has to be a trooper unit, though, so you can't give an aim to an ATST or something like that. But they also gain a suppression token. They don't have the choice, whereas the Rebels, it's a choice to gain a suppression token. Governor Price is just forcing it on you, considering that aims tends to be a little bit more desirable. Now, the Empire likes aims. I have recently been running some Stormtrooper configurations that are really trying to mass their white dice, and since they have precise, they get a nice little bonus for aims spent. So I was looking at ways to kind of really try to manufacture lists that could put a lot of aims on Stormtroopers, and this is yet another option, although if I'm doing that, wouldn't I be better off just running General Veers, who can give out 2 aims instead of her and not have to give out the suppression? So I don't know if Stormtroopers is really the best way to go, but maybe depending on what I'm running, she would actually work out pretty well with Darth Vader as the Darth Vader commander. Granted, I'm not as crazy about Price because when you choose to do that, because Vader has no fear, so the suppression gets ignored for him, so he doesn't even get the token, so he just gets the aim. That much is cool, but if you're running Vader as a commander, then it's a lot less awesome to have Price as a field commander, right? You're not really getting that whole, plus if I'm running Vader, I'm probably not running a whole bunch of generic command cards that I need her to stay in the back and issue. I'm probably taking her with Vader so she can start handing out aims to him and stuff like that. So but that's one option. Another option I think is kind of cool is Death Troopers. They already have Precise 2, so they really like aims, especially if they can manage to get free aims, which is very, very cool. But what if you have DTF-16, right? DTF-16 has Compel. Compel's a great option to have in your army. Then it doesn't matter if you're giving it to the Death Troopers or anybody else. First off, Death Troopers have courage value of 2, so 1 suppression isn't going to break them. And even if it does, or break somebody else in your army, Compel is a really helpful ability. I mean, the same thing if you're running Krennic too. But Compel is just like, well, you know what? I can just ignore the suppression. Let me go ahead and take a move, and maybe if they've got something that triggers off of a move, they can also trigger that effect. But I just really like DTF-16 with Governor Price. I think I might want to use her with some Death Troopers and come up with I think there's some new list options there, but I think Death Troopers are going to work well with Governor Price. As far as Clone Commander Fox, he has a different take on this ability. He's just giving out a Surge token, which is also good, but instead of giving a suppression token, he actually removes a suppression token. So that's also nice. While a Surge isn't as good, removing a suppression token is also fantastic. So he's going to synergize with just about anybody. He's going to synergize with Anakin Skywalker if Anakin's got his command cards that are getting played. He's going to synergize with Phase 1 clones that happen to have a suppression that he can take it off if he goes before they activate. And then just any clones in general, just drop and Surge here and there. They can all share it, so that's also pretty cool. So I like Clone Commander Fox. He's just not that great. It's also kind of cool. I mean, because I guess the Republic already has a field commander, so it's not as big of a deal with him. So he kind of works overall fairly well, but he's not that great. He's just kind of in the middle there. But as a free action, you might as well do it. And that's the other thing that's kind of cool. You don't have to exhaust any of these commanders for any of that stuff. So yeah, those are our vehicles, and they're going to be out in May, and we'll probably be getting some articles really soon. So if you guys are new here, be sure to check out the links in the description below. Don't forget to click that subscribe button, leave a comment. That's going to automatically enter you to win any of the giveaways. And we're starting a new $25 Amazon gift card giveaway right now. You just have to be a subscriber and leave a comment. Let me know what you think down in the description below. Which vehicle do you prefer? And we are going to is this the start of a new era of way more dual faction packs? We're starting to see that here. We're also starting to see, I guess we started to see it back in R2-D2, but we're starting to see more and more dual faction stuff. What are your thoughts on dual faction packs? Love to hear it. Also, big thanks to my patrons. You guys are amazing. I could not do this without your continued support. So thank you, patrons, for your continued support. I will talk to you soon. Thank you so much. And as always, have a great day.